Okay. Last question to looking back at the early days. I'm gonna try to make you remember too much from more than
Mm.
20 years ago now. On the labels, let's say convictions or principles, would you say that something has changed between now and when it was created, so in early 2000? And if it did, is that voluntarily or just out of necessity? Would it be like artistic necessity or economic necessity?
No, principles. I mean, musical principles with Lost Language has always been a case of I've always been open-minded about what kind of trance we put on there, like whether it's sort of slower, more progressive, or the faster trancier stuff, ambient remixes, breakbeat remixes, techno. As long as it's got like, as long as it's got the vibe that we look for, which is usually got like which tends to nod towards the old school, never too fussy, never too overblown. Um, we like quite tough, techie beats quite a lot of the time, regardless of what's going on over the top. But I mean, it tends to fit a vibe, and we're not, and we've never been strict when it comes to like the BPM or the actual genre. It's got to have a vibe, and I think we've stuck to that. Those principles have kept continued. I mean, even recently, putting out some of the kind of what you might call the raw trance or neo trance, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's still to me it nods back to a sound that we've always looked for, which is kind of a bit more understated, melodic, has a certain energy, with an eye on the past. It's got that kind of late 90s, mid 90s ethos when it comes to the production and the energy. So like it's we've continued that since the very early days. It's never been about a very specific genre of trance. It's been more about finding our sound in the broad church of what we consider to be, great trance. When it comes to outside the music, I mean, the industry's changed hugely since I first joined Who's Tunes and Lost Language in, what was it, 2000 when I first worked there. But there was obviously a lot more money around in the early days, a lot more record sales and a lot more compilation licensing requests and things like that. And so there was a lot of money, and that's just not the case now with streaming. That's kind of, that's just not what it was. So we've had to kind of reassess everything in regards to how can we afford to kind of keep the label going? What do we do when it comes to when it comes to sort of getting remixes or signing stuff? I think there just isn't the money that was there, and because of streaming, but a lot of it's more to do now. I think people use it more as a promotional device. So if you've got a release or a remix on Lost Language, it's good for your DJ career, maybe, things like that. But it's tricky. It's really hard. I really struggle with it still, because having sort of seen both sides of it and having been there from the early days when there was a lot of money and still being there now where there isn't really much money, it's something I kind of struggle with, and I really sympathise with people who are against things like Spotify, or who are looking to try and do more stuff on Bandcamp, as a way of just trying to kind of, get people paid and get people making money out of music. It's tricky, but yeah, it's that's the only thing we've had to kind of readjust to. Really, the music we've always, it's always been, the principles have been strong and steady, but the actual business side of it is a completely different beast 25 years later.
Yeah, that's before.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least artistically you've been staying.
Yeah, artistically, yeah. I think, and part of that is being flexible. Like, you've got to move with what's going on, so and trust your instincts. I mean, there's certain things like it's not all, and there's also things I'll come across tracks that are like, I think this is perfect for Lost Language. It might not necessarily be the kind of thing I would play in a set, but I know there's a place for it with our fans and with our group, and I still love it. It's still great, but like, there's always that kind of like I know what works within the lost language, like broad church, and some of that stuff that's like purely things that I might play. Some of that stuff is stuff that I know long-time fans will just be like, yeah, that's lost language, and they will get it. So I think usually on a remix package, is what I've always done is try to cover lots of different angles. So you might have like a sort of a more traditional trance remix, something harder. Then you'll have like maybe an original, and then we like to have a B-side as well. I like to have like a kind of an extra track from the artist. That's something I've always loved from back in the day. You might get a great B-side or a B-side that you love even more than the A-side. So we've always kind of tried to have like a package that kind of represents lots of different areas of what we would be into, if that makes sense.